What's up, losers? Today I'm back with another r/fatlogic adventure. Reading a couple of fascinating posts, sharing my thoughts on them, and cracking a few jokes along the way. This is episode 99 in the fatlogic series, which is pretty wild. The big 100 is just around the corner now. But anyway, today is 99, and I'm pumped up to check out these fresh posts. So without further delay, let's get into it.
But having rolls on my body is uncomfortable and annoying. Physical discomfort, a thread. For sure it can be. But why? Consider, are your pants too tight? What is holding you back from buying a bigger size? What beliefs or fears about that idea are present? How long have you had the rolls? Are they new? Anything that is new is uncomfortable until we adjust it. Is this just a phase of discomfort you need to move through? What do you believe having rolls on your body means about yourself? Your value, your worth. Negative beliefs about body fat create discomfort. What are you afraid other people will think? Are you worried about their judgment? So is it the body rolls, or the fear of judgment, that is really the issue? What is required to get rid of the rolls? How much time or energy will be required? How much worry or stress will it create? How much of the rest of your life are you willing to dedicate to being roll-free? This desire doesn't go away when you're older. We make body fat the problem, but really it is our beliefs and judgments about the rolls that make it uncomfortable, even physically so. Were you uncomfortable resting your head on the soft stomach of your mother? How we view fat makes a big difference in how we experience it.
Good Lord. This is taking things to another level. Man, like, they're not content to just delude themselves anymore and tell everyone how great it is for them personally to be fat. Now they're trying to convince people who have clearly identified their body fat as a source of discomfort that actually, their mind is just playing tricks on them. There is no way the discomfort could really be related to weight. And they need to keep trying until they get used to being fat, rather than taking what seems like the most logical course of action and, losing a little weight. Frankly, I find all of this insufferably condescending. Fat people who want to lose weight are not just dumb, unthinking sponges, soaking in diet culture messaging and fatphobia, and allowing this to define their experience of the world. They are perfectly capable of independent thought, and they can evaluate the overall impact of excess fat on their own terms. And unsurprisingly, they often conclude that this impact is overwhelmingly negative, and that they would like to do something about it. Experiences like being constantly out of breath, wearing down your joints through excessive strain, and struggling to move around or position your body freely, are not psychosomatic symptoms of internalized fatphobia. They are natural and foreseeable physical consequences of being obese that are not going to go away just because you learn to accept your body rolls. If people want to resolve these issues, which would be entirely understandable, the way they can do it is through weight loss, not through fat acceptance, and no amount of gaslighting is going to change that. The last thing I have to offer in response to this post is an answer to its question. How much time or energy will be required to get rid of the rolls? And my answer is, not as much as you might think. Like, sure, it takes a certain amount of planning to lose weight, and it can require a real effort of will, but the actual day-to-day effort does not have to be that large. It's more a matter of putting in place better eating habits and sticking to them. Spending a lot of time on exercise and meal preparation can be helpful for some people. But these are not essential prerequisites of weight loss. And I'm sick of seeing fat activists pretend that anyone who loses weight must be spending 8 hours a day on a treadmill, and 8 more hours preparing their quinoa salad. Because realistically, you don't have to do any of that. You just have to eat less. It's a simple proposition, and it's time to stop using extreme diet and exercise practices to justify your own total inaction. On even the most basic of levels. Because let's be real, you're not prioritizing other things over weight loss. You're simply giving up on the very idea of self-control. And that's just sad.
My understanding is that Hayes, and other fat acceptance organizations, supports the idea that health and weight are not related to each other, and that people have a natural size/weight that can't be easily or healthily changed. This being supported by studies that show 95% of diets fail long-term. However, for a small number of people, diet and exercise may actually allow them to change their weight and size. Is it fatphobic for a fat person in this group to eat healthy/exercise and become thin as a result? Or for a thin person to eat healthy/exercise and remain thin, when making different choices, could result in them staying/becoming larger? Or should everyone adopt the mindset that weight can't be affected by diet and exercise choices, since the group for which it can be affected is small, and results in a lot of fat phobia?
Wow. This post is great. It really hits at the eternal dilemma of fat acceptance. Doesn't it? That dilemma being that fat activists want to say that diet and exercise have no effect on someone's weight. But they are contradicted at every turn by the actual reality of the situation on the ground, of tons of people changing their weight, whether in an upward or a downward direction, through modifying what they eat and how often they exercise. If the world really were as fat acceptance likes to pretend it is, thin people would stay thin. Fat people would stay fat. And not put on any more weight beyond their set point. And nobody would ever successfully diet. But of course, none of this is actually borne out in the real world. And that presents a real problem for fat activists. This post seems to respond to the problem by positing that people who manage to lose weight are essentially unicorns, who have an extremely rare ability to succeed in diets that is not shared by other fat people. And it hilariously questions whether it is acceptable to lose weight, or simply be thin, if one is able, in light of this being a presumably genetic privilege that the rest of the poor fats simply weren't lucky enough to receive. The implication of this being, I suppose, that everyone, currently thin people included, is morally obliged to be as fat as they possibly can, so as to fight back against fat phobia, which I must say, is just about the apotheosis of fat acceptance lunacy. Like, we've peaked. Guys, it's not going to get any better than this. Cheeseburgers for everybody. We all need to do our part in the war against fat phobia. No slacking. This is the moral crusade of a generation. No doubt about it, haha. In reality, of course, all of this can be pretty easily understood. If we simply accept that the majority of diets do not fail, but that people fail the majority of the diets. It might be a bitter pill to swallow. But successful dieting is possible and achievable for basically everyone. And if your diet failed, it's not because you're just genetically unlucky, or whatever. It's because you did something wrong. But that's okay, because one failed diet does not a life of obesity make. And there's nothing stopping you from learning from your mistakes and having another go at it, more knowledgeable the second time around. Unless you're a fat activist, I suppose. In which case your planet-sized ego might be standing in the way. But that's a separate issue, haha. The only alternative to accepting responsibility for your own diet successes and failures is to twist yourself in mental knots, like this post does, and make a giant fool of yourself for the world to see. And all I can say of that possibility is, it's not worth it. Trust me, it's not worth it. So don't go there. Just get up, brush yourself off, and try again. It's really not as hard as it seems. I promise. Well, that's all I've got for you today. I was initially planning to do 3 posts like usual, but each of today's posts was pretty long, and I rambled on about them for a fair while. So I figured I would just call it a day here. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at the posts with me, and that you found my commentary useful in some way. What do you think? Are fat rolls really causing you discomfort? Or is it really just fat phobia? Should we all do our best to become fat? As a show of solidarity with the fat community? Let me know in the comments. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, or I'll make you rest your head on some fat activists' soft stomach, while they tell you a bedtime story. Just kidding, haha. Anyway, catch you later.